At 4ZZZ, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we broadcast. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging of the Turrbal and Jagera people. We acknowledge that their sovereignty over this land was never ceded.
And we stand in solidarity with them.
You're listening to Tranzmission on 4ZZZ, amplifying the trans and gender non-conforming voices of Brisbane and beyond.
Hello. You're listening to Tranzmission, all about amplifying the voices of the trans community around here, Brisbane and beyond. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, my name's Hazel. I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Bridie. I use they, them pronouns.
Oh my goodness. There's a new voice in the studio.
What?
What the heck?
You're like, where?
Where am I? I don't know.
Recently from the Dykes on Mike's crew, come to join us for this morning. Bridie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I can't believe I actually managed to get here. That was crazy. But we
Before
made
10,
it.
yeah.
And I even made breakfast. So I'm actually slaying currently.
Yeah. Currently, I think you're ready to start a business. You're ready to, have a family, buy a house. This is all of it.
Literally.
Yeah, that's it. You've made it. You've achieved adulthood. And Hazy, what are we doing today? What's on the show?
Well, I thought it would be a bit of fun to think about outside the city a little bit. Because we're talking about trans and gender non-conforming voices, and a lot of them are in the city, but a fair few aren't. So I think today is a good day to look out into these regional areas, into those rural areas, and think about what it's like to live with a lot less concrete around you, and with a lot less bars and a lot less clubs.
Yeah, and more like open fields and gay frolicking.
Yeah, and a slight malaise. It's out there.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, we're talking about community outside of the metropolis. Outside of metropolis. I don't know what the plural from metropoli?
Metropoli?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Metropolis.
Outside of the school of cities that swim through Australia.
That's it.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
You're correct. We're fishies. No, that's not the plural for fish either. Yeah. Also, on Tranzmission, I would like to begin by just acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which 4ZZZ broadcast every single week, the Turrbal and Yuggera people. This land is stolen land, and we acknowledge that. And we do it the best that we can to pay our respects each and every week and every moment we can. And also, yeah, we're all part of that land back movement on 4ZZZ. And Tranzmission stand in solidarity with our brother boy and sister girl communities. We're standing with you in solidarity. And today, yes, talking about rural communities, but also some week in community news, just a couple of little updates with things going around at the moment. Some good news, some bad news. If you haven't heard, there is some tragic news happening in the UK. The UK Supreme Court has ruled that trans men are not men and trans women are not women. The UK Supreme Court ruled on Wednesday last week that the legal definitions of man and woman are based on a person's biological sex as assigned at birth. Anti-transgender activists hailed the decision, though legal experts say its full of ramifications are still unclear. So if you're following this, it's a little grim. Look after yourselves out there. Hopefully this is not something that remains. It is quite challenging to, I think, uphold this rule, I guess.
Yeah,
ruling.
It's one of those things that brings more questions than answers. They like to make it seem like it's all simple, but you've made it so much more complex.
Yeah.
How do you police this? How do you keep track of this?
Also, didn't Trump try to, change the legal definition of woman to, something at conception, which would therefore make everyone woman?
Yeah, they did in fact do that, yeah.
Which I'm like, that doesn't... Cool, well, everyone's woman now.
Yeah.
It's fine with me, I don't mind. Trans guy said it. It's cool then, right? That's how that works.
Yeah, that's all for you to say.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever.
No comment.
You're like, suits me too, actually.
Yeah,
So
but I shouldn't take that win for my side.
No. And other news as well, which is good news. In blow for Trump, Pentagon to resume healthcare for trans troops. The Trump administration has been hit with a flurry of lawsuits over its targeting of trans service members. Now, the Pentagon will resume providing gender-affirming care for transgender service members in apparent compliance with a court order. Yay!
Yep. I love the load-bearing apparent in that sentence as well, because that's always the way with this as well, with the current US government.
It is, but also I think it was quite funny that Hazel, you mentioned that wow, trans women are like not allowed to play sport, but too dangerously strong to be in the military.
Well, the other way, right?
Other way around. That's right.
We're too
weak to be in the
dangerously
military.
powerful to be in women's sports because we'll just rule over everyone. But absolutely the weakest members of the armed forces and must be removed from them.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. We were talking about we want a transgender like special ops team, if we're that strong, come on, let's do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Anyway, that's some interesting news happening globally. If you're also following much in the election, please take care of yourself, take time out. That stuff can always be really full on, especially since, making trans people a political football can be really challenging at times. So please look after yourselves, stay hydrated, take time off, touch grass.
Yeah, touch as much grass as you can.
Yeah, that's it. Amplifying the voices of the trans and gender non-conforming community of Meanjin, Brisbane and beyond.
Transmission on 4ZZZ brings you the latest in trans community news, music and events.
Every Tuesday from 9am till 10am.
Join our team of hosts for an hour of celebrating the unique perspectives of the trans community.
Transmission, Tuesday mornings from 9am till 10am on 4ZZZ.
We had a little confusion earlier about how we would pluralize the idea of a metropolis, and thankfully Mac has texted in to inform us that they reckon it's going to be metrocities, like velocities, source megamind. And I appreciate that, but I think maybe a better reference would be atrocities.
Oh, yeah, well,
It's a better reflection of the experience.
if you look at cities from, from space,
Yeah.
they do kind of look like a infection on the Earth. So maybe they are atrocities.
It's a little nasty.
Yeah.
But speaking of cities,
Yes.
what if we cast our eyes outside the cities a little bit? So I was looking at some stats recently. So I was looking at the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and I wanted to know how many trans people are in the cities and how many trans people are not. And I found out something very interesting. So for the gender diverse and trans population over 16 years old, only 0.9% of the population. And of that 0.9%, almost 80% of it lives in the major cities. That's a lot.
That's a lot of trans people in one place.
For sure. And so 14.1% of us live in regional areas and 7.7% in regional and remote areas. So compared to cisgender people, we have a pretty high tendency to live in these major cities. And by extension, outside of these major cities, it can be a little hard to find that community. So I wanted to ask some questions to a few people, and I got some experiences, some people outside of these major cities. Would you like to hear some of it?
I would. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Oh my god, that's so great, guys. So,
She's like, thank God.
otherwise I would have had to throw this out.
Nope, back to some music.
So I asked some questions of Al, which is the owner and runner of Banshees Bar and Art Space down in Ipswich, which is a fantastic place. If you don't know it, you should absolutely take the trip out there. Tons of fantastic events happening every week. And they told me that they were, always a bit of an awkward kid, never really felt like they connected. And they found their community just by being in share houses, meeting these people, all kinds of loud trans friends and friends of friends and so forth. And they distinctly remember a conversation in the Bavau Shops car park where they wondered, could I just be a gender anarchist? Which I think is a very relatable feeling. Burn it down! I had this kind of question of when you're out there, when you're not sort of in this dense area where there are just people, where do you find that kind of community? Where do you find other trans and gender non-conforming and gender diverse and just queer people in general? I also wanted to ask the question of how did a non-city upbringing affect that? And for that, I asked MJ. So MJ is a Meanjin-based musician and comedian, writer and strategist. She grew up in Boona, which is 100 kilometers outside of Meanjin, and didn't realize she was trans until her 30s. And the simple answer is that it's hard to explore things when everybody knows you and your family. So it's through that sort of friends. It's when you start socializing. It's when you start going out. It's also on the internet. It's when you start getting into those communities online and everything like that. Bridie, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Of course.
I would
ready.
love to know, what do you think introduced you into the sort of idea of gender non-conformity?
I think, like, for the first time, like, the person that really opened my eyes to it was G-Flip.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Because I always loved G-Flip. They were one of my favourite artists ever. So then they came out and I was like, oh, like, this is a thing that people can just do. Like, I guess that I'd never even thought that that existed. Like, I'd always felt different. Like, I always didn't feel like I fit into the binaries, but I didn't know that that was even a possibility.
Yeah, 100%.
So then I think when I realised that, I was like, hey, like, let me just try out these pronouns. But it's also so hard. Like, a lot of people, like, I'm from Townsville, they just don't even really think that's a thing. So, like, you can tell them, but I think they don't understand that people using your correct pronouns is actually so important.
Yes,
to
totally.
how you feel. Like, I think they just think, oh, like, if you want to use them, but they don't get that it actually makes an impact.
I do want to use they, them, but you actually need to be the one using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can acknowledge you're some kind of weirdo, and that's all right with me. But I'd like to not talk about it any further, please. That
Anyway,
is a bit of an
where's
experience.
my 4X?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really relate to that, particularly in high school. Being a teen boy in high school, I had that kind of like phase of wanting to really be correct. But I'd always felt that I was just like, oh, I'm just a particularly feminine guy, and that's a thing. And I was like, I thought about it through the lens of sexuality and stuff like that. You know, like I'm someone who's like bisexual or pansexual, and that's where I'm accessing that kind of feminine vibe from. And then, simply just seeing celebrities, or actually in my case, it was like a partner of someone I knew, like transitioning, and just being like, oh, like I can do that.
That's a thing?
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, then I'm going to sit on that for 5 years and then I'll act on it.
You're like, let me cook.
Yeah.
I lived with a trans guy for a year. We were in a share house together.
Right.
There's somewhere out there on YouTube an interview that I do with him before I transition, asking him questions about transness and his experience of community, all of that. Good luck finding it. Don't go looking for it. But it is out there, and I remember thinking, gosh, I relate to everything he's saying, and still it took me another 4 years after that before the penny dropped.
Yeah. There's one more thing that I would really love to address about this, though, which is that if you've lived out in a regional area, I think you can say that there are misconceptions about what regional areas are like. Because it's definitely easy to get the idea that it's just full of racists, it's hard to be out there, it's rough, it's disconnected. But I specifically asked this question, and Al responded that yes, there are some misconceptions. They said that there's way more support here than they ever anticipated. They moved there as a non-binary person in a relationship with a queer man and was used to having slurs yelled at them from cars in the inner city, but that just does not happen out here anywhere near as much as they thought. So I can tell you also, living in Ipswich, there's a community there. You just kind of have to look for it. Banshees Bar and Art Space is a great example of a venue you can go to, and I would highly advise you to. And in fact, on June 14th coming up, there is a queer festival happening in Marburg, which is another 15 minutes away from the city than Ipswich. These kinds of things are constantly happening. You keep your eyes peeled for it, because at the end of the day, we are everywhere. We're in all of these communities, and we're going to celebrate our existence in all of these communities as well.
Banshees Bar and Art Space is Ipswich's only bar for live, loud, original gigs, contemporary art, and a friendly, relaxed vibe. They support original artists, social justice activists, and 4ZZZ subscribers who get 10% off their drinks with your 4ZZZ subscriber card. Banshees Bar and Art Space in Ipswich are a proud 4ZZZ business subscriber and sub-discount outlet.
You're listening to Tranzmission. I'm Hazel with she, her pronouns.
I'm Bridie. They, them pronouns.
I'm Ez, he, him.
We have a rule, you have to say "and" on top of the next person that's speaking. It's a cute little thing we do.
Well, no one told me the rules. I wasn't briefed.
It's okay, it's not your fault. We are chatting about what it's like to be trans outside of the major cities, or the metrocities. I think I've gone quiet.
The metrocities? Have you gone quiet?
Yes, I have.
Oh no, your mic is dropping. Hold on, say some things again for me, Hazy.
Hello again, people.
I don't know what's going on. You might have to hop up casually and move over to this other microphone for me. I'll keep saying things for you on your behalf as you move. Having some technical difficulties. I wish I had one of those buttons that was like, played like, we're having some technical, you know, like one of those.
Yeah.
You back? You back?
I am back. Hello again, everyone.
Yay!
That was just a really funny bit. No technical difficulties. We're really good at this, guys. We're talking about being trans outside of the major cities, or gender non-conforming, or conforming, or gender diverse. And part of what we were talking about is misconceptions about what it's like to live in rural areas.
Yeah.
There's certainly good parts and bad parts, but I really liked what MJ had to say about it. She told me that there's a lot of misconceptions, and that a friend of hers who researches community music in regional Queensland talks about how there's non-city life is not defined by conservatism, but more just a mistrust of people from outside the community. And I think that pretty much nails my experience with it, definitely, because there's certainly... Oh my god!
We've had a subscriber.
Let's go!
There's flashing lights in the studio.
We should probably take a moment to talk about this, guys. It's AprilAtonement.
AprilAtonement.
It's about time that you get your subscriptions in. And, you know, you don't have to be too ashamed about it. My subscription renews every time it's AprilAtonement because I had to atone in April once. And
atone.
Yeah, so as a result, I loop on April. So every time I get this...
Oh my god, we got
another
one!
one! Oh my god! That's enough, folks. No,
Okay,
it's not. Give
all
us
right.
more.
Our
It's all right.
second last day of AprilAtonement, to be fair, so people are getting in.
It's true, you've got to get in while you can.
In fact, you might run out of opportunities. If you want us to start screaming randomly when you're putting in your subscriptions, then you better start subscribing. I would love to scream again if that's what you guys want. Thank you to Ian from Paddington, and thank you to Brent from Haruka 3 hours ago. I think
It's all right. We had 2 people subscribe in just less than a minute, so hopefully the next person pops up. But thank you so much, Ian, for supporting 4ZZZ. Love it so much. I guess you're probably also enjoying our lovely conversation about living in rural areas as a trans person. I think one of the best things about 4ZZZ is that, you know, you're talking to real people, you know, like you're listening to real people, and we're talking to real people in here.
Yeah, we all exist.
Trans people are real, guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Hot off the presses.
fresh out the egg.
And again, if you're part of your community, you'll meet them, whether or not you know you have.
That's
We're
right.
all out
They're
there.
all around us.
I want to I went to the Wickham on the weekend, which was quite wild for me, because I don't normally go to what's predominantly like cis queer venues. Not to say that there aren't trans people there, just generally there is a larger percentage of cis folk there, I don't feel like people clock me, and what I mean by that is I don't think people like necessarily look at me and think straight away that I'm a trans person. However, when I was at the Wickham, I was like, okay, very noticeably a man in like skimpy clothes at the Wickham right now, and I was like, cool. And there was a lot of queer men, and I had a really awful experience. Actually, it wasn't the best. Oh my gosh, is that another subscriber?
That's another freaking subscriber.
Oh my
Sass
god.
from Fortitude Valley. Thank you so much.
Sass.
Thank you, Queen.
I know you, Sass. I
Yeah.
love you. Thank you for supporting Transmission.
Mwah,
Yes. Mwah. Oh, is that another one? Is that 4?
Oh my
Stop it
god,
right
this
now.
is great. I'm loving this.
Yes.
We need
Woo!
as many AprilAtonements as you can possibly fit in this episode.
A tone.
A tone!
Don't.
It's making me want to play.
Peter Sterling, the only man in the world who's given birth to a child.
Someone might say, oh, you're a bit of a queer. And they'd be right.
And they'd be right. You're a bit of a queer too. Thank you for subscribing
Thank
to
you.
4ZZZ during Transmission. Love that.
We love the Qeerdos. I'm very, very happy with that.
You're just sidetracking my story
We're
here.
all over the place now. Sorry, Ez.
No, that's all right.
You're at the Wickham.
I'm at the Wickham.
You're talking to cis people.
I was talking to cis people, you know, I don't do it often. And then I was hanging out in the smoking area. I hadn't spoken to a single person because I was going solo. And then a young lesbian and a young gay man were having a chat with me. And the lesbian had said to me, gosh, there's a lot of men here. And I was like, yeah, that's the Wickham. And I was like, and I said, as a trans guy, it's quite overwhelming for me as well. And immediately the whole conversation pivoted to, so, have you had surgery? How do you feel about your genitals? I'm like, whoa, guys, I don't even know your name. You don't even know mine. I had to, like, take a pause and I had to take a deep breath and kind of, like, weirdly assess myself because I had to go into, like, a kind of zone where I went, hey, y'all, this is an appropriate thing to say to a trans person that you've just met or ever, for that matter.
That's
Totally.
crazy.
Yeah, I then proceeded to ask the lady about her menstrual cycle and how she feels about her labia as a response.
Bless, as you should.
Well, I mean, you get to know those things. I get to know things too, right?
Well, this is all polite.
Only fair.
That's it. All's fair in love and war.
Being trans is one of those weird things where you could be at work and someone's going to ask you about your genitals and then act like you're weird for not wanting to answer that question.
Yeah, but also, like, I don't even have friends who ask those questions.
Sure, yeah.
And then I immediately left. I was like, cool, well, just another reminder that the Wickham is not always the safest space to be as a trans person. If anyone from the Wickham who works there is listening, maybe there's something you can bring up. This is mentioned on community radio, that there's weird things that people ask people in those spaces. Just because it's a queer-friendly space doesn't mean that it is a trans-safe space. So there does need to be some general... First rule of you meet a trans person, maybe just, like, don't make that the whole point of your entire engagement with them.
It just
'cause
should
that's
be
weird.
like when you meet normal people, you wouldn't say that to cis people. You wouldn't be like, hey, what you got going on down there? Like, why are you asking trans people that?
Yeah.
Really weird.
I usually answer with, yes, I have genitals.
I got some of those.
Yeah, I collected some.
Yeah. It reminds me of that joke.
I've removed some too, but I'm not telling you any more than that.
Reminds me of that joke that, you come to Earth, the first gender's free, but the next one you've got to pay for it.
That's right. And I've paid my price.
Yeah.
I've paid my little over 20k price tag. So...
we've got another subscription!
What's going on?
Oh, thank you, Lara. That's my beautiful partner. Hi, Lara from North Laval. Love you, boo.
Love you too, Lara. Thank you for subscribing.
Love you, queen.
Yeah, thank you.
AprilAtonement. We can win prizes,
Yeah, by the way, that's not just for us. You can win stuff.
Yeah, Bridie, you do a little flippy booklet there.
I love me some AprilAtonement.
Oh, go on.
Oh,
Love it. I think my favourite prize, ignore the flipping.
The G flipping.
This
Putting a little
every
ASMR
time.
in there.
But the one that I personally want, which I won't get because I atoned in March because no one let me know about AprilAtonement. But I would want the Oasis VIP Deluxe Experience.
Ooh.
Welcome on board the Jewel of the Brisbane River Oasis.
Wow.
And then you get VIP boarding, dedicated table on the top deck, you're getting wine, you're getting a bottle of vodka.
Wow.
Holy, it's like
Sorry.
party boat time.
That is crazy. You can feel like
Right?
you're royalty for a bit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can, if you also subscribe, it's an annual subscription. So it's not monthly or anything. It's for the year. You can subscribe for from as little as $25 if you are under 18. $25 for pets. That's right. And plants, insects, those things, they count as pets.
Everything.
Yeah, whatever you want, really.
If you got an imaginary pet, sign it up.
Yeah, why not? Concession is $40. Full $80. Passionate $140. Super subs $500, and your name goes up on a wall. You also get some special merch if you're a super sub as well. Same with Passionate, you get some cool stuff as well. Solo artists, you can also subscribe as a band, business, or household. Head to 4ZZZ.org.au/support. That's how you can win prizes and atone for your sins.
Why wouldn't you? Because you're supporting community radio. You could win some prizes, and you're just going to be a great person. You've got that warm inner glow. You're going to be supporting what's making our community thrive.
Yeah, and keeping trans voices on the airways, which is so, so important.
Thank you.
So much appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey listener, did you get the memo? It's AprilAtonement, a month-long opportunity to make amends for lapsed subscriptions and go in the draw to win prizes from some of our friends. New Farm Cinemas, BMAC, Oasis, Heaps Normal, Jets Fitness, Brisbane Festival, Stork Furniture, Vicasati, The Buttery Music School, Gyrostream, Smoked Garage, Outside the Box, and Vanilla Zulu. Become a subscriber this AprilAtonement. Head to 4ZZZ.org.au now.
And we're back. You're listening to 4ZZZ. This is Tranzmission. My name is Hazel, and my pronouns are she, her.
As, he, him.
I thought we were doing the ands. Is that
Oh,
not...
sorry. You say it now. You say
Now I'm thrown off
Say
now.
your name. Say your name.
Bridie.
Sorry. Wait.
How many genders are there?
I don't know. I just got here.
Come on, introduce yourself.
I feel confused. Bridie, and I use they them pronouns.
There's only one gender.
All right, we did it. We managed to introduce the show. Hi, folks. We've been talking variously about a number of topics, but also mainly we've been talking about being trans out in communities outside of the city. And I just kind of wanted to end off with one thing, which is that there is a big queer festival happening out in Marburg, which is, if you know where Ipswich is, 15 minutes further out. It's about an hour out of the city. And it's going to be fantastic. It's on June 14th at the Marburg Community Oval. There's going to be music, drag, markets, food, fun, all of that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, no matter where you live in the cities, outside the cities, you're looking for your community, right? You'll find it there. It's a wonderful time for trans, gender non-conforming, queer, cis alike. It's for everyone.
Yeah, and there's also Vinny's Dive has the 491 event coming up as well. I believe that is this Friday night. No, not this weekend. Sorry, next weekend. And that's going to be raising money for the 491 Ozpath, raising money to make sure that we can support those young kids, young trans kids who are looking to access gender-affirming care. So you can head on down for that one.
May 9th at 6 p.m.
That's it.
It's going to be fantastic.
Super keen. Some great bands going to be there as well.
Yep.
Including the likes of Selma Soul.
Queerbait, Frangipanis. It just doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Also, there's something else I was going to mention, but I really just want to play this Lavender Threat song.
I think we should. I mean, you need to be ready for this to be hard.
Okay.
It's going to rock you around, folks.
Okay.
If you aren't wearing your seatbelt whilst driving your car right now, first of all, you should have been. But now put it on.
Put your socks on.
Yeah.
Because they're about to get knocked off, divas.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Lavender Threat with Open Letter to Pauline Hanson.
When trans lives are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back!
And welcome back. My name is Hazel. You're listening to Tranzmission, amplifying trans voices. And that was Open Letter to Pauline Hanson by Lavender Threat. I know it's a bit different to the rest of the music we had on today, but I just felt like it's too in theme. We're talking about, rural communities outside of the city. I even come from where Pauline Hanson used to own her fish and chip shop. So, I've had my brush.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
And this track was definitely something I feel like she can comprehend quite well.
That's the language she speaks.
It is.
Yeah, if
noise.
you've listened to her. Yeah. And she doesn't like it. Yeah.
She does not. Also, Lavender Threat will be on Right Here, Right Now tonight.
Yeah.
That's it. If you don't know much about Right Here, Right Now... Actually, Bridie, what is Right Here, Right Now? What's that about?
Tell us about it.
Right Here, Right Now is literally my favourite thing. It's my little squad. I think it's every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Yeah, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Basically, we get a local band in. They play like a 15 to 20-minute set. It's really slay. We live stream the whole thing on the 4ZZZ Instagram as well, so you can check that out. Also on Twitch. And then they do a little interview after.
Now that sounds exciting. And what's great is if you prefer to have your content beamed to you through LEDs to your eyes, you can finally do that for 4ZZZ as well for this band. That's going to be so exciting.
It's super awesome. Maybe you'll even hear that beautiful letter to Pauline tonight live as well.
It's a very demure letter.
Yeah, it's the
very
polite wording. I think perhaps too polite for Pauline Hanson.
Possibly, yeah.
No, that was...
Oh, we don't want to scare her off.
Yeah. She might come on the show. Sorry, I shouldn't tempt fate like that. That's not happening.
No. I find that unlikely. But if she asked, I would consider. Yes, Right Here, Right Now is live every single Tuesday from 6 p.m. on 102.1 FM, 4ZZZ. And when you subscribe to 4ZZZ, you support small artists and small bands coming in and performing live in such a way. It's actually a really beautiful experience for a lot of those small bands and small artists to have their first time being broadcast on air, performing live from studio. So yeah, subscribing, supporting us helps. Subscribing, supporting also helps the trans and gender diverse community because that's also what keeps us going on Tranzmission.
For sure.
Yeah. And Bridie, have you been enjoying your time at 4ZZZ? You haven't been here that long, so...
No, I sort of started at the beginning of this year when I did my internship for uni, like Hazel did before me.
Yeah.
And then TJ before me.
We all come from the same university. There seems to be a small pipeline of doing internships from our uni through to 4ZZZ. But, of course, we do it voluntarily. We love it here.
We do. They can never kick me out of here.
This place is like glue, and I'm a fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be kicking and screaming if I ever have to
I'm a
leave.
filthy little fly rolling around the 4ZZZ studios.
Even if you don't want me here, I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. And I will buzz way longer than you think I should have been able to buzz for.
Yeah, well, it's also like, I think the community here at Zed, I think we're all kind of like dirty little flies, but we're all buzzing around on the frequencies all the time and having a good time.
Yep.
And I think because I've been here for a little over a decade now, started out on Dykes on Mics, in fact, with the wonderful Ruth and Kate and Beck, and that was, I don't remember the year, but I was 21. So
okay,
there you go. You
That'll
date
help.
me a little bit. Yeah, and I think the space here has like probably never been more trans and queer than ever before. But I think we don't really make a whole lot of assumptions in the space at 4ZZZ. It's a really nice environment to be in because we just kind of like we're all just people, and our genders are based off of the shows we're on. So we're just like, oh, you're Bridie. What show do you do again? Like that's
how you ask pronouns.
Yeah,
True.
yeah,
that is like the that is.
Yeah. So we know each other through what we produce and what we do for community, which I think is actually probably more important than anything else. So.
And it's real loose too, you know, like for us, like we rocked up here and we just started helping out somewhere, and then eventually it's like, oh, I'll go over here, I'll help these people.
You find your little community within this community, and I think it's really special.
Yeah, I think it's lovely. So, you know, thanks to 4ZZZ, and thereby, thank you to you, dear listeners, who are supporting 4ZZZ throughout this April Atonement, giving us your hard-earned cash so that we can give you our hard-earned content.
That's it. You can, or hard-earned chaos, whatever
ends up out here. Yeah,
whatever ends up happening. Thank you so much for listening.
And a quick thank you also to MJ and Al for providing me your first-hand experiences of being trans out in rural areas. And also thank you to Bridie.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Transmission. See you next Tuesday, 9 to 10 a.m. on 4ZZZ.